One of the greatest hybrid car models overall is the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, which is also a good bargain thanks to its broad list of standard features and affordable starting price. The Sonata Hybrid should be at the top of your list if you're looking for a roomy, fuel-efficient sedan. On which base Hyundai Sonata Hybrid is ranked? Based on its rating in the hybrid car category, the 2022 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid is ranked first. It is a finalist for our 2022 Best Hybrid and Electric Car for the Money Award and the winner of our 2022 Best New Cars for Teens Award. Based on our review of 23 pieces of research and data elements from different sources, the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid currently has a score of 8.8 out of 10. Hyundai's automobiles were cheap and felt poor when it first entered the United States. Furthermore, most Americans couldn't even pronounce it because of the name Hyundai. What did Hyundai do as a result? To draw in customers, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty was introduced. Additionally, the car maker began enhancing its vehicles, particularly the American-made Elantra and Sonata. The Sonata is a premium sedan today, but it is priced like a budget car, and still comes with the best guarantee in the country. A 2.0-liter four-cylinder engine and an electric motor combined to produce 192 horsepower as part of the Sonata's hybrid powertrain. This hybrid has little issue getting moving, even when you're starting from a standstill or increasing your pace. When you're driving in sport mode, the 6-speed automatic transmission standard shifts may occasionally be smoother. In addition, it is a little awkward to switch from hybrid to gas-only power. According to category standards, the base 2022 Sonata Hybrid Blue gets 50 mpg in the city and 54 mpg on the highway. However, some hybrid vehicles consume less gasoline. The average city and highway mpg rating for the SEL and limited trim levels are 45 and 51 respectively. You gain an additional 2 kilometers per day if you select the solar panel roof option. The inside of the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid is attractive. Materials that are of the highest caliber and are comfortable to the touch are present even in the base Sonata Hybrid model. The limited trim's enhanced materials give it the appearance and feel of a high-end sedan. The majority of road and wind noise will be blocked out as you drive, resulting in a tranquil and calm environment. The trunk of the Sonata Hybrid has 16 cubic feet of room, which is comparable to other sedans in its class. The space inside the standard Hyundai Sonata and the hybrid model is equal. It features a split folding back seat that is useful for storing long objects. The pass-through, however, is somewhat diminutive when compared to the size of the rest of the trunk. The Sonata provides 34.8 inches of legroom in the back and 46.1 inches in the front. The 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system in the Sonata Hybrid is easy to use thanks to the physically indicated controls for basic climate adjustments that are situated low on the center stack and in an ergonomic location. The top limited model has a 10.25-inch touchscreen with navigation and a 12.3-inch completely digital instrument cluster. It's important to note that the standard display has a physical knob for audio tuning, whereas the large touchscreen does not. On both displays, the systems have haptic shortcut buttons that surround the primary display. The projected dependability rating for the 2022 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid is 83 out of 100. A predicted reliability score from J.D. Power of 91 to 100 is regarded as the best, 81 to 90 as great, 70 to 80 as medium, and 0 to 96 as fair and below average. Hyundai offers a 5-year, 60,000-mile baseline warranty for the Sonata Hybrid, as well as a 10-year, 100,000-mile guarantee for the engine, battery, and some other hybrid parts. The Sonata's basic front collision prevention systems achieved the highest rating of superior. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration awarded it a flawless 5-star overall safety rating for its outstanding performance in the side collision and rollover tests, 5 out of 5, as well as the frontal crash test, 4 out of 5. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety gave the 2022 Sonata its top grade of good for all 6 crash tests. For how well the headlights lighted the road ahead, the limited trim's headlights received the highest rating of good, while the lower trims received the second lowest rating of marginal. Only the highest limited variant of the Sonata Hybrid is offered in 2 variations for the 2022 model year. Now available in Hyundai's Remote Smart Parking Assist feature. With this feature, you may park the Sonata Hybrid in a tight location while still standing outside the car. There is also access to Hyundai's dynamic voice recognition system, which works similarly to a virtual assistant like Siri or Alexa. Along with the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, the Honda Accord Hybrid is a top hybrid vehicle on the market. These hybrid vehicles, elegant interiors, user-friendly infotainment systems, and a host of safety features may appeal to you. There are a few tiny distinctions between these two sedans that could affect your choice. The Accord gets better fuel economy, has greater rear legroom, handles more sportily, and accelerates more quickly. Better mileage is obtained by the Sonata. The Toyota Camry Hybrid offers a quick drivetrain, a broad list of amenities, and a roomy interior. It excels at the majority of tasks, including safety, and has fuel efficiency on par with the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid. Despite having a slightly large trunk and a better interior than the Hyundai, this comparison does not clearly favor the Hyundai. Either of these cars would be a fantastic daily driver with low fuel use. For the 2022 model year, the Sonata Hybrid receives 2 updates. Although exclusively for the longest limited trim, the remote Smart Parking Assist system from Hyundai is now accessible. With this technique, you can park the Sonata Hybrid in a tight spot while still standing outside the car. Another option is Hyundai's dynamic voice recognition system, which works similarly to a virtual personal assistant like Apple's Siri or Amazon's Alexa. Starting at $27,050, which is approximately typical for the class, the 2022 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid is available. The top limited trim is priced at $35,400, while the mid-level SEL trim is available for $29,800. See if your local Hyundai dealer is participating in our US News Best Price program for fantastic savings. Our Hyundai offers page also offers fantastic manufacturer discounts. Want to trade in or sell your current car? Instantly receive a cash offer that you may use to help pay for your future vehicle. The Sonata Hybrid and Honda Accord Hybrid now share the top spot in the hybrid car rankings. These competing cars have many safety features, upscale interiors, and user-friendly infotainment system is common. Though they are both excellent choices, their slight distinctions can influence you. The Accord accelerates more quickly, handles more sportily, and boasts many more inches of back legroom. In contrast, the Sonata offers superior fuel efficiency. The Hyundai Sonata Hybrid has a luxurious interior. High-quality, soft-touch materials are used in even the base trim. The top limited trim of the Sonata Hybrid has upgraded materials that gives it a luxurious sedan-like feel. As you travel, the inside of Tranquil and quiet, shielding you from the majority of traffic and wind noise. An intuitive 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system is standard on the Sonata Hybrid. Simple, climatic adjustments are made possible by physically designated buttons and knobs that are ergonomically positioned low on the center stack. The top limited specifications add a 10.25-inch touchscreen with navigation and a 12.3-inch completely digital instrument cluster for extra technology. It's important to note that the normal display has an audio tuning hardware knob, but the larger touchscreens does not. Haptic shortcut buttons border the primary display on both systems. In comparison to the comparable sedans in its class, the Sonata Hybrid's trunk offers 16 cubic feet of room, which is pretty decent. Additionally, it offers the same amount of space as the Hyundai Sonata non-hybrid. Standard features include split-folding rear seats, which allow for longer objects to be stored. The pass-through, however, is somewhat modest in comparison to the size of the rest of the trunk. A 2.0-liter 4-cylinder engine and an electric motor combine to produce 192 horsepower as part of the Sonata's hybrid powertrain. Whether you're starting from a halt or driving up to higher speeds, this hybrid moves well. When driving in sport mode, the standard 6-speed automatic transmission occasionally could shift more smoothly. The switch from hybrid to gas-only power is also not entirely smooth. This Hyundai cruises over potholed roads with ease as it clocks up the miles. Another factor that helps it provide a controlled driving experience is its quick steering system. The important thing to keep in mind is that the regenerative braking system produces a brake pedal feel that is somewhat hazy, which reduces driver confidence when it's time to slow down or stop. The projected dependability rating for the 2022 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid is 83 out of 100, a predicted reliability score from JD. The best power range is from 91 to 100, followed by great power from 81 to 90, medium power from 70 to 80, and poor power from 0 to 69.